might be too many wireless mics there. We might have to shut them off.
Yeah, folks mind moving their mics. I'm so sorry about this.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, well, he's got
Oh, okay.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Much slower.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience as we got started. My name is Elizabeth Sweet. I'm the Executive Director of the MIRA Coalition, and I'm here to get us started with this incredible campaign launch. We are so delighted to be here in front of the State House today, coming together to launch the Protecting Our Immigrant Communities campaign, which we believe is so critical for the state of Massachusetts right now. Immigrants are such valued members of our communities here in Massachusetts, are contributing so much, and are living with so much fear right now. And so today is about lifting up actions the state can take here in Massachusetts to protect our immigrant neighbors and communities. This campaign is supporting 3 bills right now, and we're going to be talking in depth about 2 of them. We're going to be talking about the Safe Communities Act, a bill to detangle our state and local police from federal immigration enforcement. We'll be talking about a new bill, the Immigrant Legal Defense Act, to put state funding into protecting immigrants by paying for attorneys to represent them in their removal proceedings, where right now they have the right to counsel, but not a counsel at government expense. And this campaign is also supporting the Dignity Not Deportation, the Dignity Not Detention bill, which would move toward ending contracts with ICE, including 287G agreements. And so I'm here to turn this over first to MIRA's Political Director, Maroni, who will be acting as our MC today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here today. We're very excited to kick off this campaign. My name is Maroni. I'm the Political Director with MIRA, and I'm also a proud immigrant from Gabon. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank all of our bill sponsors and all of the advocates here today. We do have a long line of speakers, but I just wanted to say that we had to change things a little bit because the Senate is currently in session. So we will kick off our line of speakers with the senators who need to get back to do the work, which we really appreciate. So thank you so much. With that said, let me call our first speaker, Senator James Eldridge, to come on up.
Good afternoon. I want to thank MIRA for organizing today's press conference, kicking off the movement to pass the Safe Communities Act and other critical pro-immigrant pieces of legislation. All of my colleagues who are co-leading on this bill and other legislation to protect immigrants, the Safe Communities Act Coalition, many of whom are behind me now, and pro-immigrant allies for your support today at the State House and all across Massachusetts. And my heart goes out to vulnerable immigrant communities that have grown more scared, insecure, and uncertain over the past week. As elected officials, one of our most sacred duties is to keep all of our constituents safe and secure. In that same vein, as the most senior filer of the Safe Communities Act, I want to lift up that this legislation is not about political affiliation or partisanship, but rather to set a clear, bright line between the role of federal immigration officials and our state and local law enforcement and court personnel, educating immigrants without legal status about their rights, and ensuring that law enforcement in each of our communities continues to have the trust of all residents, keeping everyone safe. That the Safe Communities Act was first filed during the Obama administration and now through the Biden and Trump administrations speaks to the universal values that are the foundation of this bill. A common reality that many elected officials, immigration advocates, cities and towns and schools and immigrants have found, however, is that the federal police force ICE has the ability to strike fear in the heart of millions of undocumented immigrants and their families across Massachusetts and America. In a nation that has always resisted a national police force, in a state with a long history in fighting against the kind of tyranny where people are under mass surveillance by their government that intrudes on enjoying our lives, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I truly hope that all Massachusetts residents can gain an appreciation for how deeply disturbing it is to have a national immigration police that often seems to have no limits to its power. And let's recognize what that power is. Yes, to enforce our nation's immigration laws, as broken as they are, but power also to rip families apart, make communities less safe, hurt the economy, and cause deep anxiety for many immigrant communities. Over the course of my filing the Safe Communities Act, I have seen that kind of damage directly in the district that I represent, a Metro West suburban district with a growing population of immigrants from countries across the globe that have made each community stronger and more vibrant. I want to give you a heartbreaking example from this week that I have confirmed is true. On Tuesday morning, I received a video from a Brazilian American friend of mine of an ICE SUV pulling over a driver in Marlborough, a city that I represent that has one of the largest Brazilian communities in the nation. Yesterday, in my conversations with the Marlborough police chief, concerned constituents, and immigration advocates, including MIRA, I learned that ICE came to Marlborough on Tuesday morning with a particular individual as a target. Unfortunately, ICE officials, instead of finding that target at his home, saw a car drive out from that same street with a similar profile as ICE's target and pulled him over. My constituent's license was checked by ICE, and when it turned out that he was without legal status, he was arrested and processed at the Burlington ICE office. My constituent is now being held in the Plymouth County Jail. That is wrong. My constituent, originally from Brazil, has a wife who is pregnant, who I spoke with yesterday. They have one child, own a small business, and are leaders in their church. The husband has no criminal record. It was chilling to speak to this man's wife yesterday, desperately trying to figure out how she and her husband and their family will move forward. In Massachusetts, we cannot control federal immigration law or immigration officials. But we can make sure that the value of Massachusetts, of our history as a welcoming state, and as a Commonwealth that looks after our most vulnerable residents, is not lost in yet another wave of anti-immigrant, destructive xenophobia. Passing the Safe Communities Act is one way to ensure that we hold on to our values and the people who make Massachusetts such a special place. I am proud to be part of this campaign to support the Safe Communities Act and other critical pieces of legislation. Let's get the movement started. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Eldridge. Thank you for being a champion, and also thank you for sharing a story from your constituents. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our next champion, Senator Liz Miranda.
Buenas tardes, and good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Senator Liz Miranda, and I have the honor of representing the 2nd Suffolk District, which is the heart of the Black community here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm here today because I am here to push us to make sure we know that it's time for the legislature to take a stand for immigrants who our communities, are in crisis because of this mistrust, this fear, and this misinformation. As a first-generation Cabo Verdean American legislator, and as someone from a mixed status family, I know personally what it's like to lose loved ones to deportation. I know the immigrant story is one of hard work. It is of sacrifice. It is of hope and distance from loved ones in pursuit of a dream that's actually deferred. It is not one of criminality. For years, Republican sheriffs have been notorious for racism and civil rights violations and have been able to target and attack immigrants in their communities by using 287G agreements, deputizing our local law enforcement agencies to enforce federal immigration law. There are well-documented examples showing that 287G agreements increase racial profiling, break community trust, and actually decrease public safety. Current practice encourages ICE to take custody of people before they've had their day in courts, actually denying justice to both victims and defendants. And with this new administration, it is critical that we actually protect due process and ensure that everyone has their fair share. We must quickly take action to expand and enforce civil liberties and rights for all Massachusetts residents in the face of the Orange Man's administration target on our Commonwealth. We know that the Trump administration has already done. We lived through it already for 4 years. And if anyone tells you that they're only focused on violent criminals, they are lying. We know that this administration has already threatened the legal status of over 1.4 million migrants at risk after ending the Biden humanitarian parole program. As our Attorney General has stated very clearly, state and local law enforcement cannot be commandeered for federal immigration enforcement, despite threats made by our federal government. And the President cannot rewrite the Constitution to execute his mass deportation agenda. Let's pass the Safe Communities Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Miranda. Thank you for your leadership and for being a champion. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Senator Adam Gomez.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am beyond proud to partner with MIRA. Senator Adam Gomez. I represent the Western Western Massachusetts, specifically the cities of Springfield and Chicopee. And I want to give a big shout out to MIRA for putting together this coalition. And I also want to show my appreciation to Representatives Rogers and Moran as the Senate sponsor of the Immigrant Legal Defense Act. Our communities are facing unprecedented challenges, and we must establish a united front to provide some of our most vulnerable residents with the protections and tools they need to face the threat of detention and deportation. Legal representation can often make all the difference in immigration court. Detained immigrants with a lawyer are 10 times more likely to win their case than those without legal representation. Still, despite in Massachusetts, more than half of the immigrants with pending cases are navigating their proceedings without a lawyer. This bill will ensure state funding for legal services to represent Massachusetts residents who are at the risk of deportation despite their dedication and participation to communities we are all proud to call home. Yeah. We must bridge the gap and ensure immigrants that need access to legal representation to ensure equitable outcomes. I want to thank all of you, all of our advocates, all of our champions on the ground that make sure that's going to make this piece of policy loud and heard inside of these walls behind us. So again, I want to thank all of you today, MIRA, our Masters of Ceremonies, our advocates behind me, and my colleagues for this momentous time to show that we are standing up for justice for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Gomez, a champion of the Legal Defense Act. I just want to remind the speakers that please hold the microphone closer to your mouth. We're trying to work with what we got. We can deal with the germs later. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our next champion for the Safe Communities Act, Representative Cruz.
Thank you. Let's give one more round of applause to our senators who have to do the people's work. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. Bon dia. Bonjour. It is an honor to be here today. My name is Cruz, and I am the state representative for the great city of Salem. And I am honored to be here as a descendant of immigrants. And it is fitting that we would hold today's event, Protecting Our Communities, from the harm of this administration and all those that came before them right here at the People's House, where John F. Kennedy wrote a book about us being a nation of immigrants. And that is what we are. We are, in fact, a nation of immigrants, and we cannot forget our roots. We are not a monarchy. We are a constitutional republic. That's right. And we can't rewrite the Constitution. The 10th Amendment is clear. The powers of the federal government are clearly delineated. And all the powers that they do not have fall to the states. So when filing the Safe Communities Act alongside of my partners, Senator Eldridge, Senator Miranda, Representative Sousa, what we are affirming is the Constitution that says that our state and local resources are up to us to decide what we'll use them for, and that they cannot be commandeered. Thank you. And then remember, in our history and in our origin, this is where the first shots of the revolution were fired, right here in the Commonwealth. And what I am calling upon is in our local communities, in states that believe in what we believe, let's do the right thing and protect our immigrant communities by rejecting 287G agreements, ensuring civil legal representation and dignity to all, and of course, enhancing public safety. Because what we know about the Safe Communities Act and the Immigration Legal Fund is that they will in fact enhance legal protections for all of us. Because victims of crime, regardless of documentation status, will find the courage to report them to local law enforcement. Our district attorneys will know that if a defendant has committed a crime, that they will stay here and serve their term in the Commonwealth. And that for our school children, who for whatever reason have come under assault in this new administration, that they can go to school and get the education that our Constitution here in Massachusetts guarantees them. So the time to act on the Safe Communities Act is now, and I am encouraging all of you, my beloved community, to join us in the halls of power and to ask my colleagues to do the right thing, to stand up for the values of the Commonwealth, and to remember our history and our origin as a nation of immigrants. I thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Representative Cruz. And now it is my pleasure to bring to the stage Representative Sousa.
Thank you all so much for being here. And I'll keep it brief. I think there's not much to say than that my colleagues in both chambers haven't said. But this isn't about the harmful and completely inaccurate, dangerous rhetoric that we are protecting criminal activities, that we are protecting dangerous individuals, or that we are putting our community in harm's way. This isn't about the rhetoric that was created and perpetuated by people who have not walked a foot, let alone a mile in our shoes. In the shoes of our communities today, and yes, it is our shoes. Those of us, like myself, who've experienced the challenge of contributing to communities despite falling outside of status. I was told long ago when I first started my career as an elected official to never, ever disclose the fact that I was outside of status. I would say what I think about that, but I know there are cameras. This is about protecting the building blocks of our communities, which include our hardworking law enforcement officers who do not want to be deputized, and workers, parents, faith leaders, to name a few. What we seek to do here is simply codify what so many police departments and law enforcement partners already do every day. Create and continue to create an environment where we can all contribute to a safe community, where victims of domestic violence can speak out and turn their abusers in, where witnesses can help keep our streets safe, where collaborators can help advance justice. That is all we want, and do not let anybody tell you otherwise. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for helping us set the record straight, advancing what this conversation should be about, and standing up for our immigrants.
Thank you, Representative Sousa. Can we get a big applause to our sponsors, Representative Cruz and Sousa? Thank you so much for your leadership and for being a champion of the Safe Communities Act. And now I will call to the stage, we'll turn the mic to community advocates. First, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Don Suma, who is the co-executive director at Asian Task Force Against Domestic Violence. Don?
Thank you, MIRA, for leading this crucial campaign and for giving me the opportunity to speak about the importance of the Safe Communities Act, a bill that directly impacts the safety, dignity, and trust of immigrants across the state of Massachusetts. My name is Dawn Salma. I am the co-executive director of the Asian Task Force Against Domestic Violence, otherwise known as ATASC. At ATASC, we work with immigrant survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, most of whom face overwhelming barriers due to language, culture, and unstable immigration status. Let me tell you about why the Safe Communities Act matters to immigrant survivors and to all of us. When survivors come to us, they are terrified, not just of their abuser, but of the very systems that are supposed to protect them. Many have been told the police won't help you, ICE will take your children away, if you speak up, you'll be deported. These threats are used to silence, control, and further isolate victims. And because our current policies fail to provide clear protections and education for immigrants, these survivors believe these threats. They don't call 911. They don't seek legal protection. Instead, they live in silence and fear. At ATASC, most of our clients have waited weeks, months, even years to ask for help because they were more afraid of law enforcement and deportation than the violence that they were enduring. Now, think about it. Think about the very systems that offer safety are perceived as dangerous. Why? Because immigrant communities are often met with language barriers, cultural misunderstanding, and mistrust when they seek help. Imagine calling 911 and nobody speaks your language. Imagine walking into a courthouse and being asked about your immigration status instead of your safety. This is the reality for so many immigrants. The Safe Community Act represents a clear and actionable step towards rebuilding trust between immigrants and the systems designed to serve them. This ensures that law enforcement is focused on community safety, not immigration enforcement. It protects the person from being asked about their immigration status when they're seeking help. It sends a powerful message that all people, no matter their status, deserve dignity, protection, and justice. This is not just about public safety. This is about creating a Massachusetts where every immigrant, every survivor can live without fear. Because when one of us is all unsafe, all of us is less safe. Let's stand together. Let's show our community that their lives, their safety, their voices matter. I urge all of you to support the Safe Communities Act and to advocate for policies that build trust and equity for all immigrants in our Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So we're going to have to try to project the voices as we wrap this up. Our next speaker that I would like to introduce is Damaris Velasquez.
So thank you, MIRA, for this opportunity. My name is Damaris Velasquez. I'm the Director of Programs of Agencia Alpha. I'm also a legal rep, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Immigrant Legal Defense Act. As a former undocumented woman, I was undocumented for 22 years. And if it wasn't because I received the appropriate immigration legal assistance, I probably would have been undocumented now. This is why it is so important for our community to be able to have access to this type of services. It is very well known that when a person is well represented, that when a person has access to have a lawyer or a legal representative speaking on their behalf, there is a high chance that this person might win their case at an immigration court. There is a high chance that this person may stay in the United States and legalize their status. They can apply for some type of relief. They can be prepared for their hearings. But what's important is that they can understand about their rights. Immigration rights are human rights as well. They learn to navigate the system. And we prevent them to become victims of notarios or any other people that want to take advantage of them. We will also provide help to the most vulnerable people in our community, children, women who have been abused, men who had been facing a lot of violence in their country. So supporting this fund or this law, we will be given access to our immigrant community to just learn about their rights, be able to face a judge in court, and hopefully to prove that we are not criminals. After 35 years of living in this country, this is what I hear constantly. I stand in front of you here as a former undocumented woman, a legal representative certified by the Justice Department, and guess what? I am not a criminal. We are not criminals.
Thank you, Damaris. Thank you. Thank you all. And can we get a big round of applause for all of our speakers? And I want to thank all of you for being here today. We have just outlined two critical bills, the Safe Communities Act and the Immigrant Legal Defense Act, that would provide tangible protections for our immigrants' communities. With these bills, we are taking next steps toward ensuring that immigrants are not only heard, but also are given the resources and the support that they need to be able to thrive here in Massachusetts. But I must say, this is just the beginning. We need each and every one of you in this fight. So here's how you can help to advocate for these bills. We will need you, every single one of you. If you're not involved with MIRA yet, please go to our website, sign our petition to get involved. Because we will need every single one of you to reach out to your representative, your senators, and encourage them to work hard to pass these bills. We also want you to spread the word, talk about these bills in your community, share what these bills will do. And lastly, volunteer. Get engaged with us. There's so many ways to volunteer, but really, for us to be able to push these two bills across the finish line, it will take all of us working together. So we need you to be engaged in advocacy throughout the session. So please, if you're not involved with MIRA, if you don't get any information from us, go to our website, sign our petition, and we will get in touch with you. With that said, that will wrap up our program. I want to again thank all of you for being here today. Another big round of applause for our speakers, sponsors. I know we have a guest here, so I would like to take the break if there are anyone that you want to speak with. So just go ahead and put someone to the side if they want to speak, of course. Thank you all again.
Hello.